Hello, I'm Mike Petruccia, Chair of the Kirtland Warbler Festival.
And I'm Craig Kasmer, member of the Kirtland's Warbler Festival Committee.
I'd like to welcome you to the 2021 Kirtland Warbler Festival virtual tour.
And we're here at our virtual Kirtland's Warbler tour site, and I'll be talking a little bit about that, and as well as some of the ecology of jack pine and why the Kirtland's Warbler likes to nest in jack pine.
And then I will cover the winter aspect of the bird's life history along with migration.
Yeah. So sit back, thanks for coming, and enjoy a day full of excellent information about the Kirtland's Warbler. Hello, Craig Kasmer here again. So we're in the Meridian Boundary Fire, and this area caught on fire back in 2010. So here in 2021, this is an 11-year-old jack pine stand. Initially, 8,600 acres were burned of jack pine, and we have now, we're hoping to have 3,600 acres, 3,500 acres of suitable Kirtland's Warbler habitat here at the site. So let's talk a little bit about the ecology of a jack pine forest and why the Kirtland's Warbler like to live in this kind of forest. So for one thing, we have the jack pine trees, young jack pine trees. And all pines, especially jack pine, they do something called self-pruning as they get older. Every year that they grow a new whorl of branches. And the lower ones start to fall off, self-prune. Well, the Kirtland's Warbler is a ground nester. So they are right underneath between the trees, and these lower branches help protect them from the elements of weather, whether it's wind or it's even sleet. We know that happens here in northern Michigan in May. And also from predators who want to get them. This is a very thick forest, and so it's difficult for animals to find their way to that nest of eggs and nestlings. And so once these branches remove themselves, then those nests are exposed, and then the Kirtland's Warbler move to another site that is younger. They also do migrate, so Mike is going to talk to you next about the winter ecology and the places that these birds go in the winter time.
Thank you, Craig. Kirtland warblers winter in the central islands of the Bahamas. They normally leave late April to early May, arriving in Michigan around the first week of May through the end of May, with the females arriving about a week later than the males. Now, the journey from the Bahamas to Michigan on a straight line is approximately 1,500 miles. And once they breed, they start to leave in late August to late September, with the young birds leaving before the adults. The average time of migration is between 16 and 18 days from studies. Once Kirtlands get back to the wintering grounds in the Bahamas, the habitat that they use is similar in structure to the breeding habitat. It's very dense, short, 8 to 10 feet high, with lots of berry shrubs. It's called coppice. And unlike the breeding grounds, they don't set up territories, but they tend to move around the islands following the fruit production. So, thank you for watching our virtual tour, and get ready to learn more about the Kirtland's Warbler.
All right, so we're going to take a tour to look for the Kirtland's Warbler. We're looking at the jack pine, and as any good birder knows, we have to be patient. These birds move, they also fly, so you pause. I'm hearing one. Now, there's a couple rules when we do these in person. One, they are ground nesters, as we mentioned earlier. So we ask that you stay on the path or the trail or two-track, whatever it is that the habitat is providing, so we don't disturb their nests. Also, we ask that you don't do any playbacks or pishing. It really disrupts the males. They're very territorial, and so by doing that to try to call them in would disrupt what they're trying to do in terms of their habitat. Generally speaking, their habitat, each male has a habitat of 18 to 20 acres, but that can be smaller or way larger depending on the size of the plantation. So let's go see if we can see one of these guys. All right?
Hunt one up.
It's not singing now. Looks like a junco. Right?
Hoping with the sun popping out that the Kirtland would like start singing again.
Right. So I think there's a. It's got to be a junco on that snag back there, but it's not singing at all. Ooh, it's close. He's staying low. All right, we found one. He's in the cherry, singing. He just flew from the snag.
Oh, I see it's right in the middle of the cherry tree.
Yep. It's a lot easier early in the tours season when the leaves aren't fully flushed, because they do tend to go to the highest, some of the highest points. That's not the case when it's raining and windy. They tend to stay low, and that's when it's a bummer, because you got people coming from all over who were like, I came from Kentucky and it's 38 degrees. I'm like, sorry, it's what it is. It's Michigan.
Under normal hearing conditions, you can hear Kirtlands for a quarter mile away.
Right. You just turn it around, it'd be perfect. So they have that alternate song too that they sing, which I've heard on several occasions. It's just different, but you still know it's a Kirtland, but
Yeah, the richness and quality of their song is unmistakable. There's other birds that may have a similar cadence, like Nashville or
Right.
even wrens, but
Yeah.
it's just that richness, bubbliness. Yeah, because they have an aggressive song that they'll sing when there's other birds close by. Sometimes it'll be faster and choppier. Basically say, you're getting too close,
Yeah.
back off.
yeah, I've gone out a couple times, like at 2 o'clock. A rogue person comes and says, "Hey, I'd like to see it," and I give them directions, and I'll go out with them and from Harvard Pines, and you don't hear anything. 2 o'clock in July, I'm like, "Well, it's worth a shot," but not very productive.
Yeah, see, the census usually stops at like about 11 because that's when they don't sing as much, and by then it's usually getting windier. And
Yeah. I think they've got us surrounded. 'Cause now I'm hearing at least 4. It's amazing what the sunlight will do. You know?
yeah, exactly.
Comes out and they're like, "I'm happy now." Wow.
One of the festival tours, it snowed,
Oh, I remember that.
and the birds sang a little bit in the morning. In the second tour, the sun came out for about 1 minute. The birds sang twice, and that was it.
Why did I leave the Bahamas?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
That day started out great. There's a bald eagle swooped right over the pond, right where everybody was waiting to get on the buses.
Yeah.
And it was like, but that was the highlight of the day.
Brown thrasher. Yeah, I think we one of the tour guides we had a couple years ago, Jim, was great at recording everything. He recorded all of the lepidopterans, so all of the skippers, the butterflies, the moths, everything. So he had a whole list of that, plus all the birds. And I think there was like 82 or 83 different species that we saw that he saw that year. And of course, some were overhead. We saw a common loon, but it didn't land in the jackpine, of course. And
Right.
it's amazing how many other things use this habitat.
But that's always a nice sound to hear on top of the Kirtlands, to hear the loon calling overhead.
Yes. Well, he's not shy, is he? So the males, of course, are much more brightly colored in their chest. The females are just a little more drab, but they're very similar coloring, but just not as bright.
Yeah, similar to what the male is in the fall. It's just a duller color.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because she doesn't want to attract attention to herself.
Sure. And the males are the ones that are trying to get as high as possible to let their voice carry, right? And the females tend to stay low. Whenever I've seen them, they've been in the lower branches or the middle of the jack pine, foraging for food, that sort of thing. I've never really seen them come up really high because they don't need to sing.
Right. I mean, I've seen males sing anywhere from on the ground to the tallest snag to flying. I saw one time it was flying, singing while it was carrying a little caterpillar back to the nest.
Oh, right.
It was just like it was funny.
Yeah.
It was kind of this muffled song, and
Right.
that's why birds are so fascinating. You'll never know what you may see.
And there's always a story to tell. And I think that's one of the great things about these tours too, is that the birders that are there, they're from all over the United States and the world in the past, and they share stories about what they've seen and different opportunities, and they network that way. To say, hey, we're seeing a lot of these this year. Oh, we are too. You know.
Yeah, because for the most part, if you want to add a Kirtland's warbler to your life list, you're going to have to come to northern Lower Michigan. You know, so there are a few pairs in Wisconsin and a few pairs in UP and a couple in Ontario,
yeah.
but it's just, this is the place to be. You know, and people come from New Zealand,
Oh, yeah.
Australia, I
Yeah.
mean, all over.
I've met Britons, Japanese, Chinese, Filipino, Austrians, Germans, others I can't think of now, but from all over the world.
Yeah. I compiled a list of all the countries. It's been from all states and U.S. territories, but the list of the countries, you know, you're looking like about 30 different countries.
That's amazing.
It's just,
That's really
it's surprising, like where people come from.